First question is going to go to Kathy Afzali. Kathy, did the state do enough, or could or should the state have done anything more to retain Bechtel, which recently announced it's leaving Frederick for Virginia? And more broadly, are economic incentives such as the $9.5 million loan to keep Bechtel in the state reasonable policy?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me, and also it's a blessing and a curse to have a name that starts with an A, because I always end up going
you're
first.
Always there.
But I will say that I think it is a trap to start giving incentives to businesses. The state should be a business-friendly state all the way around. I don't believe in a corporate income tax. Others may disagree with me, but I believe when you have a low or no corporate income tax, you actually give businesses incentive to stay here, to innovate here, to hire here, and to prosper here. And as you've heard from some of our other panelists from the previous panel, we have done a very poor job as a state in terms of keeping businesses here in the state of Maryland, and that's because of our overregulation and because of our high tax structure. We have a state just south of us, Virginia, which has a lower tax rate than ours, and states do get up and they do leave. I sit on the Ways and Means Committee, as some of you may know, and we gave, I have a red light.
I have a red light. That means just a reminder, the amber light or yellow light, as Terry prefers to call it.
Sorry, I didn't see my yellow.
15.
I'll be more aware next time.
Yeah, can you flick it up maybe just for a couple seconds longer? There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see the.
We got it. Okay. Would anybody like to opt in and answer that question on economic incentives in Bechtel? No. In that case, we'll move along to Kelly Schultz. Kelly, our highways and roads, as you heard before, received a C- grade from the American Society of Civil Engineers, which stated that 55% of our major roads are of poor or mediocre quality. What more, if anything, can be done to improve our transportation infrastructure?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us back. I can't believe it's been 4 years.
I know.
I would say that the first thing that we could do is we could start spending our Transportation Trust Fund money on the actual roads where we're earning the revenues from. So we have a problem here in the state of Maryland. We have 83% of our motoring public are actually motorists. The other 17% are using mass transit. 56% of our funding of the Transportation Trust Fund comes from the motoring public. That comes from the gas tax and the other fees associated. However, 57% of the revenues collected with our Transportation Trust Fund are going to mass transit. That means only 14% is going to the State Highway Administration. I think this is a problem. All of us in Frederick and Carroll County, we are putting our money into the gas tax, into the Transportation Trust Fund, and we're getting 14% back into the infrastructure, which is causing the problem with our standards on our roads. I say we need to change our formula and put the money back where the people had paid for it.
All right, thank you very much. Save it up till the end, folks. Would anybody like to opt in with their 30 seconds on the question of transportation? All right, okay, moving along down the table to Gene Stanton. Gene, the stormwater remediation fee, or the rain tax, if you prefer, was passed a couple of years ago, and while there was a lot of talk in this most recent session, we didn't see much action toward repeal or anything else. What will you do at the state level to address the rain tax, or do you feel it's a fair piece of legislation?
Well, first and foremost, I would not have voted for it. But it does do some important things in that it attempts to help us clean up the Chesapeake, and we need to work on doing that. It also helps to make sure that our drinking water is clean. I do think that we need to look at this tax, though, and I would definitely be favorable in repealing the tax. I think that we are taxed enough in the state of Maryland, and we basically need to make sure that our government is more lean and that we are spending our tax money more wisely. I think the problem right now is the answer is always, hey, we need more money, we need to tax. I think that we need to look at our budget item by item and find ways that we can cut areas that are unnecessary, pork barrel politics and things that are happening in Annapolis. These are areas that we need to cut. But as for the rain tax, I think there are some good things that it does, but I actually think that we need to look at repealing it.
Very good, thank you. Kathy, you'd like to use your 30-second opt-in?
Yeah, I just would like to say that it's very easy to say that you would not vote for it and that you want to repeal something. However, if you are a Democrat getting elected to go to Annapolis, you are told how to vote, and you vote accordingly. If you do not vote according to how you are told to vote, you lose your committee positions, you lose your leadership positions. So as much as I know that some of our opponents in the other race that was prior to this and also in our race have an idea that they will go down and be independent, but the independent Democrats are generally run out in their primaries.
All right, thank you. Jean, you got the question, so you can't use your 30 seconds on it.
Okay.
Anybody else like to use their opt-in? All right, okay, so we'll move on to our next question, which goes to David Vogt. David, with little growth in sales and personal income tax, stagnancy in the state's GDP, and an ongoing structural deficit, where can state lawmakers turn in the budget to cut back on state spending, and indeed, should they cut back at all?
Well, I think the fact that the state is nearly bankrupt is a pretty good sign that state spending needs to be cut back. Having worked in the military as a United States Marine and as a government service employee, I've seen on all levels of government that there's funding that is continually wasted at the end of the year, every year. Like we saw in the earlier panel, we get to the end of the year and we see these state agencies that have funding that's going to dissipate at the end of the fiscal year, and so the department heads, section heads are all sending their employees out. You need to spend this money, you need to spend it now, even if it's on paper clips, so that we get the same allocation next year. There's absolutely no incentive or reason to have judicious spending practices and encouraging less state spending. And if we continue that process the way we've seen in the O'Malley-Brown agenda, it's going to continue to exponentially get worse.
Thank you. Anybody? 30 seconds. Kelly Schultz.
Thank you. I think that there's a couple of problems here. I think we talk about not only the cutting spending, but the non-increase of the budget over the course of from year to year. It's been on average over $1 billion increase in this administration. And so it's not sometimes about cutting spending, it's about trying to hold the line on where we are. This administration has not allowed that. And those of us that have voted against the budget for the last 4 years, it's about making sure that we manage the increases, because as we have all seen, the tax revenues that we have brought in over the last 8 years have not balanced out our budget. We are still short because of the spending increases that have occurred, and it's upwards of $650 million right now, according to the last audit. It's not increasing spending.
Let's finish it right there, because it is only 30 seconds. And we will ask anybody else if they want their opt-in. All right, okay, that moves us on to round two. We have 6 opt-ins left with 4 questions to go, so this hopefully will be quite exciting. All right, we're going to go back down to the other end of the table for David Vogt and a question. The Common Core, which outlines skills and knowledge children should have depending on grade, has come under fire and is controversial. What is your perspective on how Maryland is addressing Common Core requirements?
As the son of an educator, and many educators in the Maryland system as well as friends, Common Core needs to be absolutely repealed. It needs to be removed from our education systems, and we need to put the control back in our local school systems decision makers in the hands of the county administrators and teachers and our parents that are the ones that know regionally and in this area what our kids need, what is going to be better suited for those dollars that are being spent on education instead of being dictated from a federal level and only being championed by the state level because they're afraid of losing federal tax dollars that are coming in for funding. We need to put ideas that are innovative, that are going to keep Maryland on top of the education programs and systems, and instead of convoluting and realizing that the education system is being buoyed by a system that's failing.
Thank you very much. Anybody, Mr. Stanton, you'd like to use your opt-in?
Yeah, as an educator myself, I think it's going to be very difficult for us to basically repeal Common Core. On the other hand, we could look at the structure of Common Core and make some structural changes. Essentially, we need to slow down the implementation of testing. We need to review the new curriculum to make sure that it's not solely focused on testing. and we need to de-emphasize the fact that testing is the answer to everything. One of the things that we need to look at is the fact that we are going to have to increase our technology in order to make Common Core work.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Afzali.
Yes, thank you. Common Core is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. I think a huge issue in Annapolis is that Annapolis jumps forward when the federal government offers offers money. And this is what happens repeatedly. Common Core was passed down not through the legislature, but from the state board. And so the state legislature did not even weigh in on the Common Core. And what it is basically another unfunded mandate pushed down to our local communities trying to fund Common Core that was actually originated on the federal level by Obama dollars and incentives.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right. Jean Stanton, you'll take our next question. One component of effectively informing the public about the legislature is transparency and how transparent our lawmakers are, as well as our state officials. One example of this is the reluctance, one bad example of this is the reluctance of Maryland Healthcare Exchange officials to release documents preventing the media and public from examining the exchange's performance. So if you would, how can state government improve the its transparency to the general public, and is it worthwhile to do?
We need to do everything we can to make government more transparent. And this is true. There wasn't a lot of transparency with the healthcare program. The problem with the healthcare program is that its implementation was absolutely horrible. And we spent an awful lot of money with one company and had to actually move to to the state of Connecticut and look at the way the state of Connecticut was doing this. When it comes to transparency, a lot of us didn't know how this was operating. There was a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Government should not operate that way. This government belongs to all of us, the people in the state of Maryland. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that our government is transparent in every way, shape, and form. That everything that occurs is being done in the sunlight so that we can see what's going on, so that we can respond to problems that occur. So, yes, we do need to do more to basically become more transparent, to make sure that our government and the legislature and the governor's office is more transparent.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else care to use that opt-in? Kelly Schultz.
I'm glad you brought up the healthcare exchange and the transparency, because it's a fact that this current Maryland State administration is being investigated by the current federal administration. And that's a very important thing to remember, that there is an active investigation that has been appointed by our President of the United States and his people, and that's very important to us, because that is transparency at its best. And as soon as that happens, and hopefully it happens before the election is over, but obviously it probably won't because we're not there yet, we need to have the truth, because we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on a failed system.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Mr. Vogt.
To continue a little bit on what Delegate Schultz was probably going to get to, is an investigation is being held, and that should be, as appointed by the President of the United States, and that should be something us as voters hold as a referendum to going to the polls in 2 weeks, to realize that this administration and the House that is there today failed, and we need to put conservative leaders in there that are going to have fiscal conservatism and actually correct the mistake.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? If not, we'll move on to Kelly Schultz. Kelly, is the state economy too reliant on the federal government, and where can we improve and diversify the state's posture toward economic development?
Well, unfortunately, we had a very scary road a couple years ago when sequestration happened in Washington, D.C. And for as much as some people think that that's a great thing that the government was able to shut down and save some money, the unfortunate reality is the majority of our income in Maryland comes from either federal employees or federal government contractors. And so that's a very scary reality when we talk about 8,000 small business owners leaving the state. Where are we gaining the income? Where are we gaining the jobs? And where are we going to be able to create those revenues for the possible inevitable truth of something like that happening again? We all know, and if you are a small business owner, like I am a small business owner, the most important thing you can do is to be able to diversify. The state of Maryland has done nothing over the last 8 years that I have seen in order to be able to diversify the types of businesses and the types of jobs. When you have jobs leaving and you can claim an unemployment rate that is not that bad, but those jobs that are coming in are at a lesser pay than the jobs that have left, it's an invalid economy.
Thank you very much. Would anybody care to use that opt-in? All right. Mr. Stanton?
Yes, actually, I will be, one of the first things that I will do when elected is to propose a Maryland jobs bill. I believe companies need to be given incentives to bring business into the state of Maryland, and we have not done enough to incentivize companies to come into the state of Maryland. And I think what we need to do is, my proposal would propose a 3-year waiver of all corporate and property taxes to any businesses agreeing to develop in the state of Maryland. I also believe that we need to give tax breaks to small businesses as well. They are the lifeblood of our state.
Very good. Thank you. You're done. I'm sorry. But you will get our final question for the evening. Kathy Afzali, do you support the constitutional referendum to restrict how and when the governor can access transportation trust fund money to balance the state budget? Please explain your position.
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, that will be on your ballot, and please vote yes on that. That will be on your ballot. Please vote for it. And the reason being that is actually the Republicans have been fighting for years to get the governor to put the transportation trust fund money in a lockbox so that it can't be moved when the governor sees fit into other funds or into the general fund to be spent as the governor wishes to spend it. And that's what's been happening for years, ever since I've lived in Maryland, and now under O'Malley, it really went on to, again onto a hyperspeed, and that money was being spent. So in order to raise the gas tax, the Republicans fought tooth and nail to get a lockbox on that money, and we were successful to get an amendment onto the gas tax that forced the governor's hand to put a lockbox on that money, and I'm thrilled that it's on there. Please vote yes on your ballot on that referendum issue, because this will make it a lot harder for the governor to take that money and use it for other purposes that it wasn't meant for.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Vogt, you're the only person with an opt-in left. If you care to use it, it's use it or lose it. And that's it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will now take our closing statements. And Mr. Vogt, we will be beginning with you. You each have 1 minute to sum up for us.
As a United States Marine and former federal government employee as well, I've seen what it costs to hold freedom in this nation and how that cost is being taken on the backs of Marylanders with taxes more and more every day. Those are things that I'm going to go to Annapolis, as I swore to support and defend the Constitution, to support and defend each and every one of you as United States citizens, as Maryland citizens, and as families, that your backs are not how this country is supposed to be funded or how this state is supposed to be funded. We're supposed to be here to work for you and not the other way around. And I'm going to go down to Annapolis, God willing, and with your votes on November 4th as your delegate, and fight for you each and every day. And that's why, if you ask me, I will give you my cell phone number so you can make sure that happens. Thank you, and Semper Fidelis.
Thank you very much. Gene Stanton.
First and foremost, I want to make it absolutely clear that I am not going to be a guaranteed vote for any party. I am a pro-business, moderate Democrat who can be an independent advocate for common sense in Annapolis. I'm a teacher. I've been a successful small businessman myself. I'm not on the left. I am not on the right. I'm in the middle because somebody needs to be. I believe that elected officials are supposed to serve all of their constituents, not just the constituents in one party. I will always listen to all points of view. Due to the sheer nature of Annapolis, a Frederick County delegation in District 4 that is all Republican will be marginalized, building a funnel for your tax dollars to go to Baltimore, PG County, and Montgomery County. A vote for me, Gene Stanton, builds a bridge to bring your tax dollars back to Frederick County. I am the bridge to work with both sides. I need your vote to make that happen. I ask for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Kelly Schultz.
Thank you, and thank all of you for coming out here this evening. My name is Kelly Schultz. I'm the mother of 2 very handsome young men and a small business owner. And I'm here tonight, I'm reapplying for my job to serve you as delegate in District 4. I've taken my role very seriously over the last 4 years. I have authored and passed 14 pieces of legislation that are currently directly affecting the lives of Marylanders on a daily basis, to include reducing business regulations, protecting victims of crimes, honoring our farming community, and even creating an entire new business industry in our state. I have a firm conviction that our administration has worked against the middle-class family by driving businesses away from Maryland. We need to change that. I'm committed to changing that. Being a member of the legislature is not a 90-day job. It takes 12 months of hard work, making an investment in getting to know our community and your needs. I am committed to that service, and I ask for your vote on November 4th.
Thank you very much. And finally, Kathy Afzali.
Thank you. I just want to thank everyone. It's just such an honor to be here, and it's also an honor to serve you in the Maryland House of Delegates. 4 years ago, when I sat on this stage and I asked for your vote, I made some promises to you, and I believe I've kept those promises. One of those promises was that I was going to be one of the hardest working delegates you had ever known, and I think that I have held true to that promise. The other thing I promised you was that I would work tirelessly to get estate tax relief for Maryland farmers. That was an issue that people had spoken to me about. I had been a member of the Farm Bureau for years. I got the governor to back my bill in the first 2 weeks that I was in Annapolis. I promised you that I would fight for election integrity. I've gotten 3 election law bills passed. One of them was a bill to remove dead voters. My goodness, dead people were still voting in Maryland, and it took a bill to remove them from the voter rolls. So I've been a fighter. Cyberbullying, I've had a bill passed for cyberbullying, revenge porn. I've successfully amended the veterans onto the gambling bill. I've forced the hand of 5 abortion clinics who were actually very, very unsafe for young women seeking abortion. And I do see that I have a red light. Vote Kathy A on Election Day. I will again do my best to serve you to the best of my ability. Thank you.
That's right, that tyranny of the red light. Give them a round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.